My name is Dr. Sarah Thompson, and I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist who has spent most of my adult life working in one of the largest hospitals in the United States. For years, people saw me as a woman who had it all: a respected physician, financially stable, well-travelled, and admired by colleagues. I was the kind of doctor who was always called for the most complicated cases, the one invited to conferences, the one students looked up to. But what no one saw was the silent emptiness inside me. Behind the busy schedule and the professional success, there was a void, an aching sense that something essential was missing. I lived in a world of science, reason, and logic. Yet when I came home at night, I often felt like a stranger to myself. I had witnessed thousands of births. I had seen women screaming, fathers fainting, and families breaking down in tears of both joy and grief. To me, birth was biology. Messy, painful but predictable with enough skill and technology. I thought I had seen it all. But then, one winter morning, everything I believed began to change. It was December, bitterly cold outside. The city streets were silent under a sheet of frost, while inside the hospital the air buzzed with urgency. My assignment that morning was a young patient named Fatima, a woman in her late 20s expecting her first child. When I entered her room, I immediately noticed something unusual. Fatima was clearly in pain, her contractions strong and close together, yet her face carried an expression I had never seen in labour before. Her eyes were calm, her lips moved in quiet whispers, and her hands rested gently on her belly as though she was in conversation with someone unseen. "Doctor," she said softly, her voice steady despite the pain. "May I pray before we begin?" I froze. In all my years, I had never heard such a request. Women usually begged for anesthesia, for help, for reassurance, but not prayer. Curious and unsure, I nodded. Fatima closed her eyes, raising her trembling hands slightly. She whispered words in Arabic that I could not understand, but the devotion in her voice sent chills down my spine. "In the name of Allah, O Allah, make this easy for me. O ever-living, O sustainer." The atmosphere in the room changed instantly. The usual chaos of a delivery room, the clatter of instruments, the hurried voices of nurses, seemed to fade into silence. What filled the air instead was a calm, powerful stillness. I remember feeling goosebumps rise on my skin. The delivery was complicated. The baby's position was difficult, and every second demanded my focus and skill. I gave precise instructions to the team while my mind raced through possible interventions. Yet through it all, Fatima's voice never faltered. Between contractions, she whispered, "O Allah, I trust in you. All praise belongs to you." Her husband stood at her side, quietly reciting his own prayers, his hands lifted in supplication. It was unlike anything I had ever seen. Minutes felt like hours. My forehead was damp with sweat, and my heart pounded as I maneuvered carefully to avoid a crisis. Then, at last, the baby emerged, red, wrinkled, and alive, crying with a strength that filled the room. I placed the newborn in Fatima's arms. Exhausted and trembling, her face lit up with tears. But instead of thanking me or the nurses, her voice broke into trembling words. "Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah." Praise be to God, I stood frozen. I had delivered hundreds of babies before, but never had I seen a mother, at the peak of exhaustion, direct her first words not to the medical team, not to her husband, not even to her child, but straight to God. That moment haunted me. That night I lay awake replaying her words. Why did she say Alhamdulillah? Why not thank the people who worked so hard to help her? Why was her first instinct gratitude to a being unseen? My curiosity grew into restlessness. I opened my laptop and typed, "What does Alhamdulillah mean?" I learned it meant, "All praise belongs to God." Muslims say it in moments of joy and pain, ease and difficulty, as a constant reminder that everything, every breath, every heartbeat is from God. The more I read, the more unsettled I became. I wanted to understand what gave Fatima such peace in the midst of pain. My research led me to the Quran. At first, I approached it academically, but then I came across verses that shook me to the core. And we created man from an extract of clay. Then we placed him as a sperm drop in a firm lodging. Then we developed the drop into a clinging clot, and we developed the clot into a lump of flesh, and we developed the lump into bones, and we covered the bones with flesh. Then we produced him as another creation. So blessed is Allah, the best of creators. Quran 23, 12-14. I stared at the words in disbelief. This was embryology, described 1400 years ago, long before microscopes or modern science. How could this be? I, a doctor who had studied the stages of fetal development for years, was reading my field of expertise described in a holy book centuries old. I couldn't stop reading. Night after night, I read translations of the Quran. I found verses about patience, about gratitude, about trusting God's plan. I read, "Greater than, if you are grateful, I will surely increase you." Quran 14:7. Tears fell from my eyes. For years I had chased success, but I had never learned gratitude. I had lived as if everything depended on my skill, my effort, my knowledge. But here was a reminder that true strength comes from acknowledging the one who grants it all. Weeks later, Fatima returned for her postnatal checkup. I couldn't resist asking, "How did you do it? How could you remain so calm through the pain?" Her tired eyes sparkled as she smiled gently. "The strength is not mine, doctor. It is from Allah. We believe everything is in His hands. When you trust Him, you don't need to panic. You submit, and He carries you." Then she handed me a small English Quran. "Read this," she said. "The answers are here." That night I held the Quran in my hands and whispered a prayer I had never said before. "God, if this is the truth, guide me to it." Days later I found myself inside a mosque for the first time. My heart was racing, my eyes brimming with tears. I repeated the words of the Shahada. "I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger." At that moment, the emptiness inside me lifted. It was as if I had been born again, not as a doctor, not as a scientist, but as a believer who finally understood her place in the world. Today I am still Dr. Sarah Thompson. I still deliver babies. I still teach medicine. But now, every birth reminds me of God's mercy. Every newborn's cry reminds me of the miracle of life, and every day I whisper words that once sounded foreign, but now live in my heart. Greater than Alhamdulillah for Islam.